Okay, we are finishing the Jacob portion of Genesis. So if you remember, we split Genesis into 4 parts. Part 1, in the beginning. The next 3 parts were the patriarchs, Abraham, Jacob, and then we're going to move on to the Joseph story. So this is the last part of the Jacob part, which is actually the middle of Jacob. So Jacob's part of Genesis gets 7 stories, and in the middle is this is actually the 4th, which makes it the middle story, which is not, it is a story, but it doesn't function the same as the other stories. This is supposed to be a kind of a folk tale. It's a summary of all that Jacob is. So all the different characteristics and interactions and things that you've kind of noticed, like, who is this Jacob guy? And why is his family so screwed up? And how did he get to be a part of this big story? All those different questions that you have, they kind of get boiled and distilled down into this little section right here. It seems in the beginning like Jacob is having a meltdown, doesn't it? He sends everything that he has, his family, all of his stuff. See, what's happened is he is going to meet Esau. Do we remember how his relationship with Esau left off? Not great. He took everything Esau had, and Esau was out for blood. So Jacob knows, I'm getting ready to meet my brother. We haven't talked since all that stuff happened. What I'm going to do is, since Jacob has gotten wealthy, remember, is I'm just going to send him waves of gifts. So he arranges for all these things to be moving towards Esau so that as Esau is coming to Jacob, he'll receive all these gifts and his anger will be pacified a little bit. And then he'll go a little further and here comes another wave of like 1,000 goats. Would any of you be less angry if somebody gave you 1,000 goats? Probably be more angry. Like, now what am I supposed to do with all these goats? See, this is proof. Proof that my brother's a jerk. In a panic, Jacob is revealing how he feels about what he did to his brother. Do you see that? He not only knows that Esau is mad, but he knows that he's the one that did it. And to try and make things right, he's sending all these waves of gifts. And then for some reason, almost in an absent-minded move, he sends his wives and kids and family off and across the river, and now he's all by himself. And then this story happens. It's a beautiful literary structure. So right at the climax, we don't know what's going to happen with Esau and his brother yet. We don't know how Esau is going to react. We have no idea whether Esau is just saying, you know what, forget this. I don't care about these gifts. I'm after my brother. Nope, another wave. I don't care about. We don't know this yet. All we know is Esau is really mad and Jacob is really scared. And he's sending all these gifts. And right as we get to that moment, pause. It's like you're holding your breath. What's Esau going to do? And at that moment, pause, Jacob is by himself. And there's this little story here. And the little story is supposed to just be this summary of who Jacob is. But it's not only a summary of who Jacob is in the story, it's also supposed to be a picture of how we can relate to God. Let's begin. So Jacob was left alone. Chapter 32, verse 24. So Jacob was left alone. What happens when you're left alone? Do you have times when you're alone? I try and sometimes fail, but I try to make times when I'm alone, like a silent car. Do any of you, when you get in the car, sometimes you realize, every time I get in the car, I'm like, I got music on, or every time I get in the car, I put the radio on, and I think today, for this little 20-minute drive, I'm just going to sit and listen to the road noise. You ever do that? I do. What happens? The wheels start turning. You start thinking, which for some of us is why we turn the music back on. Oh my goodness, I just got caught up in my thoughts. I don't need to think about all that right now. Boop. Turn the radio on. Sometimes I like to I did it this morning actually. I had my sermon to study for. I had my phone that I could play with. I had a book that I could take, but what did I take with me to the front porch? Coffee. And I just smelled the rain. It was amazing. And I just sat in the silent. What happens when you're alone? And it's a beautiful sentence. It's like the thing it just comes out of nowhere. It just bubbles up, this situation. It almost, as you're reading the sentence, you think, wait a minute, what happened? He's alone. Let me just read the whole sentence. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. What? Who's this man? Where'd the man come from? They're wrestling? Where did this start? And a man wrestled with him till daybreak. So we have switched genres, just so that you know. We've switched genres. If I could call this genre a biblical folktale, and it's intended to do two things: summarize the person and the function of Jacob in the biblical narrative, and number two, point to the essential relational characteristics of your God. Verse 25. When the man saw he could not overpower him. The man is God. God did not prevail? God lost? How? What kind of wrestling is this? What kind of God is that? This wrestling match is packed, jam-packed with pictures of how God wants to relate to you. God could crush Jacob. And yet it says that the God who just spoke stars into existence realized he couldn't prevail. Well, he couldn't win against Jacob. I want for this Sunday and this sermon to so vividly fix in your mind a new picture of God that you feel comfortable wrestling with him because you're being honest with him. I want for this sermon to paint such a bright, unforgettable picture of God wrestling that you can never forget God wrestling. That when you get into places in your life where you should wrestle God, you do wrestle God. And so that desire of my heart requires a strong illustration, doesn't it? It does. So let's do that. We're going to have right here a little friendly wrestling competition. A little friendly arm wrestling competition. Can I have Brian and Jeremy please come to the stage? Wow, look at this. This is legitimate. Take your side. Yeah, I meant to introduce you guys before. Jeremy's Brian, Brian's Jeremy. Let's be friends. All right. So you hold it at the bottom here. This is for your elbow. Huh? Insurance policy? Yeah, just put your foot on there. Ignore the. All right. So your shoulder, your elbow goes here. Shoulder has to stay behind the edge of the table. Your goal is to keep the angle the same there. Whatever happens, I told you guys I'd promise you this. I just want you to know this is just a friendly competition. I know that we're going to get at it, okay? I know. I don't want there to be too much hype. You know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. This morning, we will witness the most anticipated match in the history of church-sponsored arm wrestling. for the 100+ in attendance and the 10-ish people watching around the world. Wrestling fans, are you ready? Let's get ready to wrestle! Okay. Guys, how are we feeling? Great. In this corner, or side of the table, and wearing a lot of tattoos, displaying an air of unbridled confidence, Brian the Destroyer Danton! And then in this corner, side of the table, wearing a very nice blue shirt, and looking hungry for the sweet taste of victory, Jeremy the Ripper Rhodes! Gentlemen, are you ready? I have no script from here, so you're on your own. Hold hands and go to it. All right. Let's bring up the music. Here we go. Right. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's a dead even heat. Let's go in for the mid interview. Jeremy, how are we feeling right now? Pretty good, everyone. Brian, are the tattoos holding up?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Wow, we could be here a while, folks. Didn't see this one coming. Please, someone overpower another. This is amazing. A dead heat. Oh, my. Really dig in, boys. Yes. Veins are popping. Nothing's happening. Can I push someone's hand over? All right. Keep the music going, please. Yes. What if I just dance while nothing happens? All right. In and out, yeah. Oh, I think some movement's happening. I don't know. Whoop, whoop, oh, whoa, what? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Jeremy the Ripper Rose! Give him a hand, all right. See you guys later.
Oh my goodness. I've never done an illustration quite like that. I just realized I forgot the women. But no hype this time, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the doubleheader that keeps getting better. We witnessed the brute strength of the men locked in epic battle. Now, feel the raw power of the women as they duel for the title of Grand Champion. Need I ask, wrestling fans, are you ready?
What is going on?
Let's get ready to wrestle again! Why is she putting on socks and shoes? This is so weird. Never saw this one coming. Leverage. Right, we're fine. She's wearing nothing. She's got toe leverage. All right, I'm going to introduce the competitors here. So, in this corner, wearing eventually shoes, and fueled by a nitro cold brew coffee, Trenta size, Jade the Juggernaut Metz. Oh. And in this corner, wearing black pants, and looking ready for a backstreet brawl, Christina the Crusher Booth. Whoa, the Juggernaut has a hype person of her own. All right, ladies, let's get it right here. Arm. Good, yes. You ready? Okay. You can't win if you don't actually try. Okay. Push-ups. Okay, great. We've got plenty of time for push-ups. Okay. Yeah, let's bring up the music a little more for their push-ups. Yes. All right. Oh, Firm handshake. Very good. Okay, I'm going to get out of the way. Paramedics are standing by. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Oh! Christina with a small advantage here, pushing really hard. Okay, there we go. Oh, wow. Full body shake. Yes, are you going to make it? That's adrenaline, folks. That's intense. All right. Uh-oh, something's happening. What is this, tag team wrestling? I don't, okay, good. Oh, come on, go. Woo! Whoa! Amazing, everyone. Amazing. Jade, what are you having for lunch after this?
Christina!
Oh, she got that one, folks. Come on, we've got this. Wow. One morning only, everyone. One morning only. Can she do it? Push. You've got this. Yes. We're pretty dead heat right now, everyone. What's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, come on. Wow. Feeling it? Let's call it a tie. Woo! The winner, the Crusher Juggernaut, the duels. Congratulations, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay. What were we doing? All right, we have one more. This is a different one. Donald and Logan. Yeah, come on. Now I want us to watch really careful. Watch really careful this arm wrestling match, because I'm going to ask you some questions. That's perfect. It's me and you, Donald, then. It's me and you. Logan, you don't have to if you don't want to. Oh, I'm not arm wrestling you. I was totally joking. You ready? Do you want to? No, that's all right. All right, let's give Logan a hand. This is the new podium. All right. Jacob wrestled God. Jacob would have been like Logan sitting on a stool wrestling his father, who at any point, if Donald wanted to, could have just... But you all know how that arm wrestling match would have gone, right? It would have been back and forth, down to the last second. And maybe Donald would have lost. Maybe he would have decided, oh man, my son has put in all this effort. Let's let him win. Why did God wrestle Jacob? It says in verse 25, When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Why the injury to the hip? Like, he could have just lost. He could have just said, I see I'm not going to prevail. But then at the end, he touched his hip. Why are we wrestling God? See, the assumption here is that we see is that Jacob is a disqualified man. Jacob is a conniver. Jacob is a liar. He's nearly a thief. He is a family divider. Jacob is not, this is how we would view Jacob, not the right man for the job. And so when we see God touch Jacob's hip, we feel like that's unjust. That's not fair. Why touch his hip at the end? The truth is, we know because we've been studying Jacob, that Jacob has always had a limp. Are you with me? Just because God has just now touched his hip and thrown it out and made him limp, all that's happened is that God made his internal limp external. Now he can't hide it anymore. And sometimes we have things in our lives and we wonder, did God do this to me? Did God allow this to happen to me? Is this just something that happened to me in my life and a pain that I'm going through and God doesn't care? Yes, God cares. When we sing, you make all things work together for my good, that doesn't mean bad things won't happen. It means God wastes nothing. If it's wasted, it's because we didn't wrestle him. When we wrestle with God, he reveals to us the way in which the broken things are actually externalizing stuff that was already needing to be repaired. Maybe if Jacob would have dealt with the entire thing with God beforehand, God, how would you like me to go about doing this? Jacob doesn't ask those kind of questions. He limped his way through. And he's endured an enormous amount of personal pain because of it. And so when we see that God touched his hip and he limps now, we think, well, that's not fair. He's been limping this whole story, guys. If you love God, wrestle with him in your places of pain. There are some of us who are going through or have been through places that hurt, things that don't feel fair, stuff that's happened to you and it just doesn't feel just. And you might feel in your faith like you just have to sit back and take it. You can't tell God that this is not fair to you, that you don't understand. How in the world could I be giving this much? I'm trying to put my life together and then these things happen? That doesn't seem right. This story, this picture that God chose to give to you is showing you he wants you to say, God, this pain doesn't feel fair. I hurt and I'm trying to do it right. If you love God, wrestle with him in your pain. That's the kind of intimacy he wants with you. Not to just be a religious churchgoer, that you just come and you sit in your seat and don't dare speak back to God. You must speak back to God. If you love God, you'll wrestle with him about the things that hurt, because that's what we do with our parents when we love our parents. That's what we do with our friends when we love our friends. That's what we do with our spouse when we love our spouse. I love you and I'm in pain. I'm going to wrestle with you about what hurts. What happens next? Verse 26. Then the man said, let me go, for it's daybreak. The man asked, But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Why does the man have to go? Because the sun is coming up and this is God. And no man may see God. Can't see him, just like what we find out with Moses. Can't see the glory of God. There's an old term, some of you have heard it in church, pray it through. Has anybody ever heard the old phrase, pray it through? Pray it through is an old phrase that means keep praying until the prayer has been answered. And somebody in the room has to, usually it was kind of an old Wesleyan term, and somebody would, woo! Because if we prayed it through, we got the answer that we were praying for. And often you would do it because there's a surgery that's coming, there's something that's needed, it's a plea to God, please help us in this way. You pray it through. We don't do that a lot anymore, but we should. That's what Jacob is doing. He's saying, I'm not letting you go anywhere until you bless me. It is Jacob expressing deeply the desire of his heart and begging his father, begging his God for what he believes that he needs right now. That's what prayer often looks like. It's not a passive, here's the things that we'd like, but, pray boldly, guys. If there's something that you need in your life, if there's something that has to go a certain way, pray with confidence. Go to the throne and wrestle for it. God has invited you into a conversation, not to just set your will completely aside and pretend like you never had it. Even Jesus himself wrestled with the Father and said, if there's any way, take this cup. Not my will, but yours be done. That's being honest. I have a will. I have things I want. I have my desires, and I'm bringing them to a table because I'm in an intimate, personal relationship with God. If you love God, wrestle with him in your places of desire. Verse 27. The man asked him, what is your name? Why? Why does the man ask him? Why does God want to know what his name is? God loves to do this. He will bring up in a moment of crisis the thing that you don't want to be brought up. Because God wants for your relationship with him to be established on vulnerable, honest foundations. And in what way did Jacob get his blessing? He lied to his dad about his name. Over and over, his dad said, Who is this? Who is this? And he lied and said, it's Esau. He can't move forward with God until he says who he really is. God is taking him back to the moment he lied. And God does want to have an honest, face-to-face wrestling match with Jacob, but we're going to get straight. You ain't Esau. You lied to your dad, and we're going back to what you did wrong. God wants to bless Jacob on the other side of honesty. And I'm going to tell you something. You have a blessing in your life, and your blessing is waiting in your confession. When you confess the honest truth to God and you live and exist in relationship with God on honest footing. I'm not playing any games. I'm not pretending like I didn't do what I did. I'm not pretending like I'm somebody I'm not. I am saying, God, this is who I am, all of me. I stand before you with no tricks, no games. I'm not pretending to be anybody I'm not, and I want to know you. And he's going to say, yeah, what's your name? And you're going to tell him your name. He said, Jacob. My name is Jacob. If you love God, wrestle with him in the confession of your truth. Who are you? Where did you come from? What do you want? Where do you hurt? What do you love? How are you broken? What are your weaknesses? Where do you want to go in life? Tell him everything. The wrestling match between Donald and Logan looks exactly like our wrestling match with God. Most of the time, we don't even make it to the table. Logan's will didn't even get him to the table. He told his dad, I don't want to arm wrestle. I want to play the violin. And what happened? What was the result when this little boy expressed his deep will, which we would call defiant? He got a hug from his dad, and he was met by his mother in the back. He expressed his will. Here's who I am, and here's what I want. Your confession of the truth. If you love God, wrestle with him in confession of the truth. And then in verse 28, then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you've wrestled with God and with humans and have overcome. We are in the book of Genesis. Israel is referred to in the entire rest of the book. And where did the name come from? God naming the people after wrestling with him. He wants it. Why? Because wrestling is honest. He has named the people God wrestlers. God's desire after the Garden of Eden, before the cross of Jesus Christ, is to create for himself a holy people set aside for him. And the way that he does it is to call them God wrestlers, people who will tell him the truth, who he will wrestle with. Verse 29, Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him then and there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, for I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered. Jacob sees himself differently because he wrestled with God. If you haven't wrestled with God, you might still think you are God. You got to go to battle with God to find out how strong he really is, to feel the power ripple through his arm. Feel him like you would feel in a wrestling match. And when Jacob felt the power, the authority, the sovereignty, and the fatherly love of God, his name for himself was changed, and he was compelled to change his name for God. After he wrestled with God and was honest, here's what I want. Here's what I'm bringing to the table. I want to know you in this way, God. The moment he did that, they both became different. He saw himself different and he saw God different because he didn't just come into the room complicit, he came into the room relating. Jade and I experienced that, and in large part, it's why I'm standing here today. We got used to, in Uganda, just setting aside our will and pretending like we didn't have one because we're here to serve, and we're nothing. And we give everything we have, and we abandon everything, and we sell everything. We have this picture that her and I took of our hands together like this with a circle, and it's our key ring. We owned nothing. We had nothing to lock or unlock. It was just an empty key ring. And that became our mindset as a family, is we have nothing, we have no right to ask for anything, and we went way too far. When it came time that we felt, and I say we, but it began with Jade, and I believe God used Jade to prophesy this into our family, it was time to start thinking about the next chapter, and we felt we need to tell God what we want, because that's what happens in healthy relationships. How fun is it when you go out on a date and you just say back and forth 30 times, well, where do you want to eat? Well, I don't know. Well, where do you want to eat? That's no fun. Somebody's got to say where you want to eat. And when you say where you want to eat, you do that because you're saying, I want to be with you here. I want to be with you here. It's not that I don't care about where you want to eat. It's saying, I want to be with you in that restaurant. Jade and I came to a place where we realized we haven't told God, we haven't wrestled with him over the desires of our heart and just gone all out and said, this is what we want. We feel like this is what's next. Will you let us have these things? And we wrestled with him for those things. And many of them, one of them that Jade wrote down is she wanted an old house with character. She wanted all the charm and none of the fuss. For the most part, we got it. I am not preaching name it and claim it this morning. I am preaching God wrestling. Hide nothing from him. Put everything before him. If there's something you want, tell him what you want. If there's something that you feel and you're curious about, tell him you don't know. If there's something that you hurt. I heard a man one time talking about his wife. It was the 4th fight with cancer in the hospital. And he's sitting out in the hall, and he's so tired of praying that his wife would be delivered from cancer. And he sits in the hallway of the hospital and he says, God, I don't even know what I'm supposed to pray anymore. Just tell it. You don't need to pray. Saying that you don't know what to say in prayer is prayer. I don't know how to talk about this. God, I'm confused. I feel lost. 1 + 1 = 8. How did that happen in my life, God? It's just honesty. Then it says at the end, the sun rose above him as he passed Peniel. That's the name he gave God. And he was limping because of his hip. Beautiful ending. Beautiful ending to the story, walking off into the sunrise. Conclusion, his hip's out. Jacob stands out as a vivid image in the Old Testament. Why? His passion and brokenness engaging with God. You don't need to have your entire life together to talk to God. You can be busted up, broken up, wrong, trying to put it back together. Come to the table. Come to the table and just say, God, I'm still trying to figure out if you're real. But if you're real, reach out and touch my hand because I want to wrestle you over some stuff that's happened in my life. I've got a bone to pick with you. If you're thinking, I have had so much blessing pour into my life and I don't know where it came from, sit down and wrestle at the table. Tell God, did you bless me when I wasn't even sure if you were around? Just be honest with him. Religion tells you to comply. Faith tells you to wrestle. If you don't understand, if you don't like something, if you want something, if you need something, if you've lost something, wrestle with him over it. Wrestling with God. This is the last statement, and I'm going to say it twice because if you only remember one thing, I want you to remember the unforgettable image of 2 people wrestling up here. On the day when you think that you're not allowed to say that to God, remember 2 people wrestling, and remember this sentence. I'm going to say it twice if you want to write it down. Wrestling with God is the passionate engagement of faith. The goal and the result is intimacy. Wrestling with God is the passionate engagement of faith. The goal and the result is intimacy. It's not about winning and losing. It's not about being defeated or being victorious. It's about touching. It's about being close. It's about being honest. It's about engagement. It's about not just saying, well, I probably never could. It's about coming to the table and say, I don't know how this is going to end, but I'm this close to you. I'm this honest with you. I have nothing back here that I'm holding, that I'm pretending, that I'm bringing all of everything that I am to the table, and I'm wrestling. And you may find out in the wrestling that God loves you way more than you even thought he did. That he accepts all the stuff you thought you couldn't even say to him. And that all he wanted, before you pretend to figure it all out, is to bring it and figure it out with him. God, I'm trying to understand this. I'm trying to put this together. I don't know how this works. I don't know why that happened. I don't know where this is going. Come to the table. Wrestle with God. He has told you in as many ways as he can to be a God wrestler. Let's stand together and sing about 10,000 reasons. And let's bless the Lord. And let's wrestle with him this week. Why? Because wrestling is the passionate engagement of your faith. Let's stand together.